My name is Lynette, and I was diagnosed with lupus at the age of 29.
My name is Josephin, and I was diagnosed at the age of 21.
My name is Zeki, and I was diagnosed with lupus at the age of 16.
Hi, I'm Leah. I'm from France, and I have a 17. I have had lupus for 3 years.
My name is Renata, and I was diagnosed with lupus at the age of 24 years.
My name is Caitlin, and I was diagnosed at age 12 with lupus.
My name is Julia, and I've had lupus for probably about 2 years, but I've had lupus-like symptoms my entire life.
Hi everyone, I am Majo. I am from Mexico, but right now I'm living in Spain. I am 19 years old, and I was diagnosed with lupus a few months ago.
My name is Alejandra, and I was diagnosed with lupus at the age of 19.
My name is Dion Langley. I was diagnosed with lupus back in 2010.
My name is Melissa, and I have had lupus for 3 years.
Hello, my name is Christina. I am 25 years old and I'm from Miami, Florida. And I was diagnosed with lupus SLE in December of 2015.
It took about 5 years for me to get diagnosed with lupus.
It took about a year to be diagnosed.
It actually took several years for me to get diagnosed.
It took 5 months for me to be diagnosed.
It took me about 7 years to be diagnosed.
It only took me a few months to be diagnosed.
I was diagnosed probably 2 years after I started having lupus symptoms.
It took for me 6 months for being diagnosed.
It took 4 months for me to get diagnosed.
I took almost 2 years for me to get diagnosed.
My main symptoms with lupus are body swelling and chronic fatigue for sure.
My main symptom is inflammation kidney, and this is my worst symptom.
Fatigue, muscle pain, arthritis, joint pain, and pericarditis.
Extreme fatigue, sometimes swellings of my hip joints, knee joints where it makes it difficult to walk.
With lupus, my main symptom is fatigue because it keeps me out of school.
Fatigue, hair loss, swollen and achy joints, rashes, Renata phenomenon, photosensitivity.
Lupus, my main symptoms are pain and fatigue.
Severe joint pain. Another main symptom I have is reduced mobility because of my joint pain and very fatigable muscles. All those things combined means that on my bad days, I carry a cane. This is Wilma. She's my mobility aid.
Fatigue, joint pain, brain fog, migraines, the butterfly thrush, nephritis, and Renata syndrome.
Fatigue, shortness of breath, achy muscles, joints, back pain, lack of rest.
Flu-like symptoms, so I get a lot of headaches and joint pain and fevers.
My worst symptom is debilitating fatigue. It keeps me from living a normal life and being a productive member of society.
My worst symptom is the lupus nephritis. Nephritis is when your kidneys are inflamed and lose their function over time. The nephritis is the worst for me because you can't feel it, so your kidney function goes down without you even noticing it.
My worst symptom with lupus is probably just generally not feeling well all the time.
My worst symptom is sun sensitivity because it drains me of all my energy on my drive to school.
My worst symptom is chronic fatigue. I really can't do things because my body is not responding and I have to be patient with that.
My worst symptom is the muscle pain and fatigue because they make me feel sick all the time.
I would have to say the worst symptom I deal with would be the joint pain and the fatigue.
My worst symptom is my fatigue.
My worst symptom is fatigue.
My worst symptom is the combination of joint pain and fatigue.
Currently, the hardest part of living with lupus is just learning to take care of yourself and following the treatments and making sure that you're doing what you can to stay healthy.
The worst part about living with lupus is the lack of support. People tend to think that when you're out of the hospital, you're healthy again, but that is far from the truth. What they don't see are your day-to-day struggles and the unlimited amount of pills that you have to take, and their impact both physically and mentally.
The hardest part about living with lupus is the treatment.
The hardest part about living with lupus for me is feeling alone.
I think the hardest part for me is just the whole lack of energy. Mentally, your mind is there, but physically, your body just won't let you do it.
The hardest part about living with lupus is that I am slow to accomplish my goals. I know exactly what I want to do with my life, and those goals are lofty, but I also am trying to get my head around that some of those goals, maybe all of those goals, may not happen because of my disease.
The hardest part about living with lupus is knowing that this is my life and that it's here to stay and it's not something that I can necessarily get rid of.
The hardest part about living with lupus is by far the unpredictability of what's going to happen with my day, with my week. Planning is very difficult for me.
The hardest part about living with lupus is the loneliness. Loneliness of waking up so tired and in pain almost every day.
The hardest part about living with lupus was being diagnosed so young and not having any friends who understood that because they were all happy and healthy and living their best lives. They don't understand the need to rest so much or why I don't feel good all of the time.
The hardest part about living with lupus is that other people can't see how you feel because most of the time you look fine on the outside. They can't see how you feel on the inside.
I feel most supported when I'm around my kids. My daughter is very active with me in this lupus, and she really understands it. She had to grow to understand it. My uncle and my brother, they are probably two of my biggest supporters as well because they understand me and they still push me and motivate me.
I feel the most support when my family lets me talk about it. I feel supported when people don't tell me that it's gonna be okay and I'm gonna be fine, and I appreciate the honesty and I appreciate when someone lets me get it all out.
I feel the most support when people around me are treating me like a human, because not everybody does that when I have my braces on my hands or I have Wilma walking around. At the same time, in addition to treating me like a full person, they will also acknowledge my disability and limited mobility and check in to see if I'm okay.
I feel most supported when people go out of their way to make me feel better whenever they know I'm not feeling well, even if I might be hiding it.
I feel the most support when I am with my family.
I feel the most support when my family and friends are there for me, no matter if I'm in a flare or I'm feeling fine.
I feel the most support when my family, my friends, and anyone takes the time to ask me how I feel.
I feel most supported, especially when I'm dealing with flares, basically when I don't have to make decisions. So if things can be offered to me in terms of make a decision between two things, or here, I'm not gonna ask you what you want for dinner or how you want this prepared, I'm just going to prepare this for you, knowing your diet. Also being accommodating for, do I physically need to be in person to do the task that I need to for my job?
I find the most support when friends and family, they ask me about my pain levels, they ask me how it makes me feel, not just physically but mentally, and I find that really important.
I feel the most support when I feel like I am really being listened, that people understand my pain.
If you don't have lupus and you're watching this video, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Like, we need awareness and we need support to fund research. We need support to fund medical care.
Lupus is very lonely. It's really hard to find people who understand, let alone care that you're sick.
If you know anyone with lupus, just try to understand them.
I want to say that nobody can do for you what you can do for yourself. Try to stay healthy, drink water, eat good, and always be proud of the good things that you can do.
Something that I have found with a recent diagnosis is that people are more than willing to offer their support and their advice. And sometimes, as helpful as you're trying to be, people with lupus aren't looking for advice, or they've heard the same things over and over. People with lupus are not all the same in terms of what we experience, our symptoms, and what works for us.
I'm grateful to my amazing doctor and my family to always support me when I feel bad.
If I had to give any advice to those who are currently diagnosed, it's so important to be there for yourself, be patient, and forgive yourself.
It taught me to be patient at myself, to know that deep down I am a warrior, and that even though you cannot always win the battles, you must never give up fighting.
When I tell someone that I have lupus, I am not complaining and I'm not using it as an excuse. I tell you that I have lupus because I've finally accepted it. Even though I have lupus, it's not going to change what I want in life, and I'm not going to let it.
A message to the males who may have lupus: embrace it. I understand how you feel. I can honestly say that I was scared of lupus for a long time. I don't try to run from it. I don't try to hide it, but I never let it stop me from achieving any of my goals. So if you're a male and you're out there and you feel like you're not up to par because you have lupus, just understand that you have someone like myself that's in the battle with you. And we're gonna fight, and we're gonna win, and we're gonna come up with a cure. We're gonna beat lupus.
Even if you don't see lupus, it's there always. And just because someone looks fine on the outside, it doesn't mean that is feeling well in the inside.